Welcome to Faithful Doubt. My name is Jordan. Today we're going to talk about why Christianity is so exclusive. Today's question comes from someone anonymous, and they ask, why is Jesus the only way to heaven? Perhaps you're watching this and you've had the same question yourself. I've had the same question myself. Why is Jesus the only way to heaven? And isn't that really exclusive and intolerant and closed-minded to say? This is something as Christians and non-Christians, it's great to get into a conversation about this and have a good discussion about what Jesus is saying when he says in John chapter 14, verse 6, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Because that's an exclusive claim, right? He's making a claim that there is no one who can get to God unless they come through Jesus. And so that is kind of where this question of, is Christianity exclusive? That's where it kind of comes from. And a lot of people have an issue with that, right? Like, there's a lot of people in the world who are, they would embrace religious pluralism, if you will, which says that there is truth in all religions. You know, I'm sure you've seen the bumper sticker coexist, and it's got all the different religious symbols on there. And a lot of people that believe that, you know, if we could all just get along and understand that we all have the right religion, we all have truth, the world would be a better place. And the problem with that is this: it isn't biblical and it doesn't make sense. For Christians, it's not biblical, but for non-Christians, that just doesn't make sense. How can all religions be true at the same time? And also, each religion is making an exclusive claim about itself. Each religion says it's true. Hinduism and Islam and Judaism certainly all say that they are true and right, and they're making exclusive claims about themselves. And Christianity is saying Jesus may be the only way to heaven, and that is exclusive, but it is also the most inclusive religion because it says no one is excluded from that. No one is excluded from salvation and knowing Jesus. You're only excluded from God if you don't know Jesus. And so it doesn't matter your race, your age, your gender, your religion, your culture. Jesus is saying, I am the truth, the way, and the life, and only by me can you know the Father. And so there's three kind of ways that Christianity makes an exclusive claim, and I'm gonna go over them here today. So what are those three ways? Well, first, we have the origin of salvation. And so in 1 John chapter 4, verses 1 through 10, it states that Jesus came into the world. He wasn't, it doesn't say that he was just born. It says he came into the world, which is implying that Jesus existed before his birth. And a lot of times people kind of forget that. Like in the beginning of Genesis, when God says, let us create man in our own image, who is God talking to? He's talking to Jesus and the Holy Spirit, which means Jesus has existed since forever. There's no beginning and there's no end to Jesus. So he is coming into the world in a physical body. And so a physicist might say, might call that an extra dimensional space that Jesus was independent and existed in before he comes into this world. And so the origin of salvation comes from Jesus, and Jesus' origin is eternal itself. There is no beginning, there is no end. We don't see a religion kind of like that other than Christianity. The second point, the purpose of salvation. In 1 John 4, it says Jesus has come in the flesh. And why does it put it that way? You know, that's very important. Why does it say he's come in the flesh? Because that's another way Christianity is totally unique. Other religions say the purpose of salvation is to liberate us, right? Like we're trying to achieve either intellectual enlightenment or get some kind of liberation from our bodies, escape from this world because this world's so horrible. And what they're really saying is you want to be permanently separated from this world, from the flesh. And when you look at it that way, in comparison and contrast to Christianity, God's plan is not to permanently separate us from him. or from this world. His plan is the reverse. It's to permanently reconcile us and connect us to him and to this world. And Jesus comes in the flesh. The body is important. It's not something that he throws away. It's not something that he says, this body is useless and I want to get away from it. In fact, when Jesus rises from the dead on the third day, when he visits the disciples, he's not just like a ghost, supernatural form. He's actually a physical person walking around in a new body. And he says to the disciples, come touch my wrists and see for yourself. I am real. He ate food. He ate with the disciples. He still had a body. And so God isn't getting rid of this world. He isn't trying to permanently separate us from this world and from the physical thing. He's trying to redeem it. And so the purpose of salvation is to redeem all things back into God, back to himself. That is completely different than any other religion. All other religions would say, we're trying to escape this world. We want to get to a paradise that's, either mental or supernatural in some way. And in fact, a lot of Christians believe this too, that our souls are going to leave our bodies and we're going to float in the clouds somewhere with a harp and enjoy living on that cloud. And, that's that is not only a misunderstanding of Christianity, it is a childish way of thinking, because what we see in the beginning of creation is God had created the earth and the Garden of Eden for Adam and Eve to live in eternally and exist physically with God. And so God is saying, there will be a new earth, a new Jerusalem, a new garden, and we'll have new bodies. And he's going to redeem and reconcile all of creation so that things are perfect again. And it'll still be physical. So that is the second way Christianity is different and makes an exclusive claim. The third way, the method of salvation. In all other religions, method of salvation or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, is something that we do on our own. It's a works-based religion almost every single time. You have to earn your salvation. And in the gospel, 1 John 4:10 says, God loved us first. Before we ever made a decision to love him back, he loves us first. And so the method of salvation is God loving us, not us loving God. The method of salvation is God coming into the flesh to save us, not us doing something to save us. The method of salvation in Christianity is God is going to send his own son to pay the cost that we so rightfully deserve. He's going to pay the price of eternal death that we so rightfully deserve because of our sin, and he's going to take that upon himself so we don't have to pay it. And now we can have eternal life instead of eternal death. And so the method of salvation is so different in Christianity. And a lot of people think that this makes Christianity intolerant. That because of these three exclusive claims, the origin of salvation, the purpose of salvation, the method of salvation, those three claims are so exclusive, or people say those claims are so exclusive that Christianity is intolerant. Why can't we just all live the way we want and we will be saved from ourselves or from hell? Why can't we just live how I want it? Why can't I just live how I want to live and do what I want to do? And God just loves me for who I am. Well, God does love you for who you are, but he doesn't want to leave you there because this world isn't perfect. You aren't perfect the way you are now. We aren't perfectly created the way we are now because sin is in the world. We are corrupt. We are tainted by sin, and we are going to die. God doesn't want you to die and be separated from him eternally. He wants you to live with him eternally. And so he has to save us. He has to come up with a plan of salvation. And in the beginning, God made a covenant with us. And how is a covenant? What is a covenant? I had explained this to a friend the other day. What is a covenant? Because in marriage, we call it the covenant of marriage. Why is it not a contract? Well, in a contract, when the other person or the other party does something I don't like, I now have the right to break the contract. In a covenant, what we're saying is you can do whatever you want in the covenant. These are the vows we've made to each other. We're trying to hold to them. But whatever you do does not affect what I do. I'm still going to hold to my vows even if you break yours. That is a covenant. And that's why marriage is so different and so unique, because what it's saying is no matter what my wife or my husband does, I'm going to still hold to my vows, and I'm going to love this person. And so God makes this covenant with us that he's going to remain faithful. He's going to love us no matter what we do. And we can never, we break that covenant over and over and over again. And you see it throughout the Old Testament. His people continue to break that covenant. And so God makes a covenant with humans. Humans can't keep to that covenant. So God becomes human to make and hold that covenant with himself so that we don't have to pay the price. And that's what he does with Jesus. That's why he becomes flesh. He existed before. He is now going to become human to fulfill that covenant for us. And so this, you may think, oh, Christianity is so exclusive and intolerant. But if you look at the early history of Christianity and how it turned out, look in the Greco-Roman world. The pagans were very tolerant of other cultures and religions, just like they are today in postmodern culture. But the modern or the early church produced the most inclusive, peaceful community in history up until that point. No one had ever seen anything like the church, the early church. No one had ever seen anything like that. So the Greeks and Romans, they didn't mix the rich and the poor. They separated those classes. The Christians did. And the Jews didn't mix races. It was you were either a Jew or you weren't. The Christians mixed races. And so you see how the early church thrives. It goes from Jerusalem, being the center of Jerusalem, it goes to the center of the Roman world. And it goes from the Roman world to the center of Europe. And it goes from the center of Europe to America. And now we're seeing today, Christianity is moving below the equator, and it's thriving in South America and Africa and Asia, especially China. And it's because Christianity is so exclusively inclusive. That sounds weird to say, but it's an exclusive claim, but it's inclusive and it's for everyone. It's for everyone that wants to be part of it. And so when you realize what the gospel is, which is you see a man on the cross loving people who don't love him, when you see that and it takes root in your heart, you'll understand that Christianity is not intolerant. It is the only way to the Father because of Jesus. And for a Christian, the ultimate reality is this. Jesus hangs on the cross, and even in his dying breaths, he prays for those people who hate him. He loves those people who hate him, and he loves the people who oppose him. And when when all Christians take that into the core of their being, you realize I have no right to be cruel or angry or hateful towards anyone. Because Jesus wasn't in the worst moment, hanging on the cross, when his enemies want him dead, they're killing him actively. He's praying for him. He's saying, God, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And he loves them. And so when I take that in the core of my being, who am I to be cruel or hateful towards anyone? And so if you take the gospel into the center of your life, you'll be humbled before people that don't believe what you believe. And you'll seek to serve people who disagree with you. And you'll know that a man who loves people who didn't love him is the ultimate reality, and that will transform your heart and change your life. And so while Christianity is exclusive in that way, it is also the most inclusive religion, because it doesn't matter what you've done, what you do, what you're going to do. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your race, your age. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what Jesus did for you on the cross. So why is Jesus the only way to heaven? Because none of us can get to heaven on our own, and we needed God to come find us and bring us back home to heaven. Thanks for the question. If you have questions or comments on this topic, please leave them below. I'd love to continue the conversation with you guys on this topic alone. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you'd like to see more, you can go over to our Facebook page and request to join there, or you can watch any of our episodes on YouTube, or you can check us out on Instagram and TikTok now. Or if you just like the audio and you'd like to listen, you can find us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. I'll see you guys next time.